Hi, this is Krista at The Secret Yarnery. Thanks so much for inviting me over. Today we are making this fabulous, easy Drunken Granny Baby Blanket. What is so great about this crochet baby blanket is how absolutely fast it is. We're only working into the spaces, so it's a lot faster than looking for each stitch. Plus, it is a one-row repeat, so perfect for watching TV or getting caught up with friends. And this tutorial even includes this adorable and easy crochet border, perfect for beginners. The tutorial is also available in left and right-handed. I'll link those in the comments and description box under this video. If you want to follow along with a written pattern, they're available over on my website, secretyarnery.com. And you don't have to worry about being able to read a pattern. All of my patterns are written in plain English, just like you are sitting here right beside me. The finished size of my blanket is 32 inches wide by 44 inches tall, which is 81 centimeters wide by 112 centimeters tall. But of course, you can make your blanket any size. The multiple for this Drunken Granny Baby Blanket is 5 plus 4, meaning you can chain any multiple of 5 and then add 4 more chains at the end. For this size blanket, I used 600 grams of Savor from Ice Yarns, but of course you could use any yarn you have on hand. Just use the hook size recommended on your yarn label and then chain any multiple of 5 until your blanket is the width you want it to be. I used 50 grams of the same yarn but in a different color for my border. For my size yarn, which is a 4 size worsted weight acrylic or a 10 ply if you are in Australia, I am using a 7mm crochet hook just for my starting chain and a 6mm crochet hook for my blanket. You will also need a pair of scissors, a needle for sewing in your ends, and for my size, I am using 5 stitch markers. But if you're making yours a different size, just grab a handful of stitch markers. We're going to be putting a stitch marker in every 20 stitches. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. To start the Drunken Granny Baby Blanket, go ahead and grab your stitch markers and a larger crochet hook than you are using for your blanket. So I'm using a 7mm crochet hook just to make the chain. So to start, make a slip knot any which way you normally would. Shrink that down and pop it onto your hook. And now you can chain any multiple of 5. So if you want to make your blanket a different size, just chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then chain 5 again, and 5 again, 5 again, until your chain is the width you would like your blanket to be. For me, I'm going to do sets of 20, and I'm going to chain a total of 105. I've already chained 5, so now I'm going to keep chaining until I have 20. So 6, 7, 18, 19, and 20, like that. Now roll your chain to the side. We want to be looking for these back loops. Just underneath the working yarn is our very first one, but there's 1, 2, 3, just like that. We want to look for this very first back loop right underneath our working yarn, and just pop a stitch marker into that back loop, just like that, and chain 20 more. 1, 2, 3, 18, 19, and 20. So again, roll your chain to the side, look for that back loop right underneath your working yarn, pop a stitch marker in, just to mark every 20th chain, so you don't have to count them again. And now keep going, doing your sets of 20 until you've used up all of your stitch markers. So there, I've used up all of my stitch markers. And now to count your chains, all you have to do is count your stitch markers. So just count by 20s. So 20, 40, 60, 80, and 1. So that's 100. And we're going to chain 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that finishes our chains for our repeat. Now we're going to switch hooks. So pop that 7mm crochet hook out. I've chained my 105, my multiple of 5. Put your regular crochet hook into that loop. and you'll be using this crochet hook for the rest of your blanket. And chain 4 more. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So into the 5th chain, to count your chains, you don't count what is on your hook, you just count these V's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go into the 5th chain right down there. So into the 5th chain from your hook, and you could go into the back loop actually. It gives you a nicer finish. You don't have to, but it does give a nicer finish to your blanket. But if you're putting the border, you won't really see it. So into the back loops, if you're doing into the back loops, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, and here is number 5 right there. So I'm going to work into the back loops just because, but you could work into the front of your stitches if you want to. So into that 5th chain from your hook, make 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and into that very same stitch, 1 more double crochet. 1 double crochet. Now we're going to skip 4 chains, so 4 of these back loops, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to work into the one right here. It has a stitch marker in it, so into that same stitch, and you can take that stitch marker out if you like, if it's in your way. You can just pop it out and make 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and 1 more double crochet into that same chain. Just like that. So now we're going to skip 4 stitches again, so 4 of these back loops, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to work into the 5th, right there. So wrap your yarn and into that 5th chain from your hook, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4, chain 2, 1 and 2, and 1 more double crochet into that same space. So skipping 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and working into the 5th, right there, we are going to do these little blocks. So we're going to be doing this along our entire chain. So skipping 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, working into the 5th, into each 5th chain all the way along, we are going to be doing 4 double crochets, chain 2, and 1 double crochet. So that's what we're going to do all the way along our chain. And this does feel a little bit slow, a little bit fiddly, but that's the joy of working into your chain. We only have to be slow for this round. So there is my 4 double crochets, chaining 2, and 1 double crochet into the very same stitch or the very same chain. Just like that. So pause the video and keep working along, skipping 4 and into the 5th chain or the 5th back loop, 4 double crochets, chain 2 and 1 double crochet into the same stitch. So do that all the way along your chain, and I will meet you when we get to the end. When you get to the end of your chain, you'll have 3 chains left. If you don't have 3 chains left, you don't really have to worry about it. If you have extra, you can just unpick that last chain. And if you only have 2, that's also all right. Just work into the last chain after. Ideally, you have 3 chains left. So into that last chain, 1 double crochet. And that finishes row 1. To start row 2, or the repeat, this is what we're going to be doing for the entire blanket. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. Now into this very first space, right here, the first space of our block, we're going to do a block. So 4 double crochets, chain 2, and 1 double crochet. So there's 2 double crochets, 3, and 4, chain 2, 1 and 2, and into that very same space, 1 more double crochet. Jump over into your next chain 2 space. So we're going to be working into each of these spaces of all of our blocks. So into the next one right there, we're going to do a block, and our drunken blocks, 4 double crochets, chain 2, and 1 double crochet, all into the same space. So there's 2, 3, 4, chain 2, and 1 more double crochet into that same space. Just like that. So into the next space of our next block, we are going to do our 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4, chain 2, and 1 more double crochet into that same space. Just like that. So you can pause the video and keep working along, doing a block of 4 double crochets, chain 2, and 1 double crochet into each space of each block all the way along your row, and I will meet you when we get to the end. When you get to the end of your row, we have our 1 space left at the end of that shell, just over here. We're going to make 1 double crochet into the top of the chain. So we're not going to go into the space, although you can if it's difficult, but going into this chain right at the edge gives you a much nicer finish, a nicer finished edge. So into the top of that chain, just right there, the top of that chain, 2 strands on the top of your hook. We're going to finish with 1 double crochet. Just like that. So repeat this row over and over until your blanket is the height you want it to be. Now here is a cheat or a quick fix. If you have forgotten to do your chain 2 and double crochet, we can just pretend that this first stitch, our first double crochet, we can do our block into that very first space. Now you can, of course, frog your work or rip it, but if you don't want to, if you are beginning to crochet and that feels sad for you, you can just fake it. So you put in your 4 double crochets into that space, just in between those 4 double crochets, so just after the first one. Do your chain 2 and your double crochet. So you make sure you do a normal block, just like that, and then I'll just keep going a bit so you can see what it looks like. Just like that. So you can see where I fudged down below. This is my fudge right here, but if you are looking at it and imagine it being larger, you won't really see that at all. So if you are new and you're you feel like you're crocheting really slow, you can always kind of cheat like that instead of frogging your work back. But of course, if you crochet super quick and you want everything to be perfect, of course, you can go back and always fix it. So that is a little cheat, and I hope it helps you. Were you wondering whose hands those are? Hi, my name is Krista. This is my secret yarnery. And if you want to see more, subscribe to this channel right now and check out my other tutorials. So pause the video and keep working along until your blanket is the size you want it to be. When your blanket is the size you want it to be, we're going to do 1 row just to finish the top of these scallops, just so it matches the bottom edge. We want our top and bottom of our blanket to match. So to start your very last row, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. Into the space, 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1, and 2, skip a stitch, and make 1 single crochet into the second. So skipping this stitch right here, 1 single crochet into the second stitch. So 1 single crochet, chain 1, into this chain space, 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1 and 2, skip 1 stitch and into the second, that guy right there, 1 single crochet, chain 1 and make 1 single crochet into the space. Chain 2, skip 1, 1 single crochet into the second, chain 1, jump over to that chain space, 1 single crochet into the chain space, chain 2, skipping 1 and working into the second, 1 single crochet, chain 1, into the chain space, 1 single crochet, chain 2, skip 1 and into the second, 1 single crochet, chain 1 into the chain space, 1 single crochet, chain 2, skipping 1 and into the second, 1 single crochet. So you can pause the video and keep working along, doing your single crochet, chain 1 and single crochet into the chain 2 space, chaining 2 and making 1 single crochet into the second stitch. So we're going to do that all the way along the top edge of our blanket. So pause the video, keep working along, and I'll meet you when we get to the end of our row. When you get to the end of your row, do your chain 1 and single crochet just into the top of that chain to finish. 1 single crochet, chain 1 to secure your yarn, cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later, pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. And that finishes your blanket. Grab your Drunken Granny Baby Blanket and look for your top row and have your pretty stitches facing forward. So they will have this cute little edge, your V's facing up, just at the top of your row, just this row here. And pop your hook into this corner. Grab a loop of your border color, whatever color you are using for your border. Put a loop of your border color yarn on your hook, bring it through and slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail, just holding it along the side of your work, and chain 1. So this counts as our first single crochet. And now we're going to be working along the side of our blanket. So into this big space right here, 1 single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and 3 double crochets into the same space. 1, 2, and 3. Now into this little space right there, right after this shell or this set of stitches, there's a little space. You have to poke your finger in to find it. 1 single crochet into that space. And now into this next big space, we're going to do our big shell. So our shell starts with a single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and into the same space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Find the little space for your single crochet, and into the next space, single crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and into the same space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Find your little space for your next single crochet. So single crochet into this little space, and single crochet into the big space. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 double crochets into the same big space. 1, 2, and 3. So we're just doing these little drunken shells all the way along the edge of our blanket. So find your little space for your single crochet. Single crochet into the big space. And chain 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 double crochets into the same big space. 1, 2, and 3, and single crochet into the little space, and single crochet into the big space. And then you can pause the video and just keep working along, chaining 3 and 3 double crochets into the big space. 1, 2, and 3, and then doing your single crochet into that little space right there. So you can pause the video and keep working along this side of your blanket, and I will meet you when we get to the end of this side. When you reach your corner space into that spot, working over your tail if you have one single crochet to start, 1 half double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, chain 2, 1 and 2, and now we're going to do the same thing going backwards on this other side. So 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, 1 half double crochet, and 1 single crochet, just like that. So along the bottom of our blanket, our big spaces are our big chain spaces right here. And we're going to do our small spaces into this little space down here. So we're not going to work right into the stitch because that's only 1 strand of yarn. We're just going to skip down into this space right here. So that's where we're going to put our single crochet. So 1 single crochet right down there into the big space. 1 single crochet, and now we do our chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and 3 double crochets into the big space. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to do our single crochet right down here, just to pinch all that together. So into that space, 1 single crochet, and into the big space, 1 single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. So our single crochets are going to go into this space, and we're going to make that a little bit tidier along the bottom, just like that of our blanket. So it looks a little stronger, it looks a little nicer. So into this space is where we're doing our single crochets. So 1 single crochet into that space, and then your block into the big space, single crochet down here to pinch all that together, block into the big space, and single crochet down here just to pinch all that together. So pause the video and keep working along the bottom of your blanket just like this, and I will meet you when you get to the next corner. When you get to the next corner, right there, we're going to do the same corner. So 1 single crochet just into that corner space, 1 half double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, chain 2, 1 and 2, and now we're going to work back down that hill. So 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, 1 half double crochet, 1, and 1 single crochet. Just like that. So there is our corner. Now we're going to work all along the side of our blanket. Big spaces get a big shell, and the little space gets your single crochet. So to start off, I have a big shell here, so I'm starting with a single crochet, chaining 3, and 3 double crochets into that same space. So just our regular block we've been doing for our Drunken Granny border. There is 2, and there's 3, and single crochet into the space. Just like that. So you can pause the video and keep working along this side. Our big shell, so single crochet, chain 3, and 3 double crochets into the big space, and a single crochet into the small space, all the way along this side of your blanket, and I will meet you when we get to the next corner. When you get to your next corner, our corner space is right there. So we want to go into that corner space. And of course, we can work over our tail. And we're just going to do our regular corner. So 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, chain 2, 1 and 2, and the same thing in the opposite order in the same space. So 2 double crochets, just working our way down the hill, 2 double crochets, 1 half double crochet, and 1 single crochet. Now working along the top side of our blanket, we're going to be putting our shells into the small space, the one we have to kind of open up here, and the space we can see, those are getting our single crochets. So starting in our first space right there, we're going to start with a shell, so 1 single crochet, chain 3, and 3 double crochets into that same space. 1, 2, and 3, into the space, 1 single crochet, and 1 single crochet into the next space to start that shell, just like that. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and 3 double crochets into that same space. 1, 2, and 3, and now into the space, 1 single crochet, and 1 single crochet into the next space to start our next block. So into these spaces along the top, those are getting our blocks, and into the space that you can see, those are getting our single crochets. So pause the video and keep working along the top edge of your blanket, and I will meet you when we get back to where we started. At the end of your row, we have our corner space, so that is where I'm going to be doing my single crochet. Just right there into that corner. And remember where we started, that also counted as a single crochet. So now we've done both single crochets for our corner. So we're just going to move right on to a half double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, a chain 2, 1 and 2, and 2 double crochets into that same space, 1 and 2, and a half double crochet, all into that same corner space. And now we are ready to slip stitch to join. So we're going to slip stitch right into the top of that stitch to join right there. So we can slip stitch and chain 1, cut your yarn and pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down. Or we can also join with an invisible join, which is what I want to do because this is a pretty little blanket and I don't want to see a chain 1 sticking up, being a little bit glumpy. So I'm not going to join yet. I just have my last half double crochet right there. And I'm going to cut my yarn. So long enough tail to sew in with a needle, and just pull that yarn right up through that last stitch we made. Just up and through, just like that, and thread your needle. And this is a great time to use a blunt tip needle. If you are using sharp tip needles, just start this procedure with the eye of our needle, just working from this side. You don't have to use the pointy bit, use this dull edge right there. But if you have a blunt tip needle, you can use either side of it. And we're going to go into that same stitch just underneath both loops, just where we would be putting our crochet hook. So bring your yarn through, and we want to keep an eye on where our yarn is coming from. We want to keep an eye on that stitch right there. And we don't want to snug it down too much. And we're going to go right back in to that same stitch where our yarn came from. Just like that, and there is our invisible join. Now you can just customize it. You can shrink it down so it looks like a regular stitch. Just like that, and then sew in your tails, and you're finished. And there is your fabulous Drunken Granny Baby Blanket with this super cute Drunken Granny border. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video right there, and stay hooked.